Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your family doctor, the one who's been seeing patients in clinic for over a decade, dealing with everything from sniffles to chronic conditions, and also the one who loves breaking down health myths in a way that actually makes sense for your real life. So grab a cup of something warm, or maybe not too warm yet, because we're going to talk about something I bet almost every single one of you has dealt with probably more than once. Today, we're tackling a trio of problems that seem totally unrelated but actually share one hidden root. I'm talking about that raw razor blade feeling in your throat when you wake up, like swallowing glass just to get a sip of water down. I'm talking about those big, angry, red, painful pimples that pop up on your cheeks or your chin, hot to the touch, swollen, and just wrecking your confidence. And I'm also talking about that awkward moment when you're talking to someone face to face and you can smell your own breath, the kind that comes from deep down, not just from that morning coffee. Have you ever felt like this? I bet you have. And more importantly, I bet you've reached for the wrong fix, because here's what usually happens. You wake up with that sore throat, or you see that breakout, or you notice that taste in your mouth, and your brain goes straight to, oh no, I'm flamed, I'm on fire. I need to put out the flame. So you head to the nearest pharmacy, Walmart, CVS, wherever, and you grab some antibiotics, or you go to the grocery store and buy those big bottles of cooling herbal teas or detox drinks that promise to flush out the heat. You chug them down, hoping for relief. And I'm going to tell you something that might surprise you. If that's your go-to move, you might actually be making things worse, sometimes a lot worse. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying antibiotics are always bad. They save lives, but using them for every sore throat or every pimple, that's like using a flamethrower to light a candle. And those cooling teas, if they don't match your specific situation, they can backfire in a big way. Let me explain this the way I explain it to my patients in the exam room. From a conventional medical standpoint, a bacterial infection is an infection. So antibiotics make sense on paper, but in traditional Chinese medicine, which I integrate into my practice because many of my patients find it helpful, we see the body as a whole ecosystem. Bacteria and viruses are everywhere. They're on your skin, in your throat, all around you. The real question isn't, are bacteria there? It's, why is your body suddenly a perfect place for them to multiply? Think of it like this. If you leave food out on a counter, it doesn't go bad because bacteria magically appear. It goes bad because the environment, warm, moist, stagnant, allows bacteria to thrive. Same with your body. When your internal environment gets hot, damp, and stagnant, that's when symptoms flare up. The bacteria are the result, not the root. Now, if you use a chemical antibiotic to kill the bacteria, it's like using bleach to clean a moldy room. You kill the mold. But you also destroy the good stuff. You wipe out the beneficial bacteria in your gut that help you digest food and support your immune system. You knock down your body's natural defenses. So what happens? You feel better while you're on the medication, but the moment you stop, boom, the symptoms come back, often stronger. And after a few rounds of that, your digestive system is a mess. You get bloated, you get diarrhea, you can't tolerate certain foods anymore. And your immune system, it's compromised. In Chinese medicine, we call this the upper heat, lower cold pattern. Your upper body feels hot and inflamed, sore throats, breakouts, mouth sores, but your lower body is cold, your hands and feet are chilly. You can't eat a salad without feeling gassy, and even a glass of iced tea sends you running to the bathroom. It's miserable, and it's a really tough cycle to break. So today, I want to share something that has been used for thousands of years. A natural, gentle, and effective approach that works with your body, not against it. And the best part, it's simple. It's two common flowers that you can find at most health food stores or quality herb shops. No prescriptions, no harsh side effects. When used correctly, we're talking about honeysuckle and chrysanthemum together. They make a tea that can help soothe your throat, clear up your skin, freshen your breath, and even improve your sleep. But here's the catch. You have to use them the right way, and you have to understand what they actually do. So let's break it down step by step, because when you understand the why, the how becomes a lot easier. First, let's talk about the root cause. There's an ancient Chinese medical text that says to treat an illness, you must seek its root. I love that principle because it applies to so much in life, not just medicine. If you have a leaky roof, you don't just keep mopping the floor. You fix the roof. Same with your body. If you only treat the symptoms, you're just mopping. The problem will keep coming back. Now, think about this. If you go to a conventional doctor with a sore throat, acne, and bad breath, you'll likely get referred to 3 different specialists Intine for your throat, dermatology for your skin, gastroenterology for your gut. You'll get 3 different prescriptions, 3 different treatment plans, and none of them talk to each other. That is the definition of symptom chasing. But in Chinese medicine, we look at these 3 seemingly unrelated problems and see one common thread: internal heat, and more specifically, heat that comes from your lungs, your stomach, and your liver, the 3 organs most affected by our modern lifestyle. Let's start with the throat. In Chinese medicine, we say the throat is the gateway to the lungs and stomach. It's not just a tube for air and food, it's a sensitive passage where internal and external environments meet. When you stay up too late, eat too much spicy food like that extra hot buffalo wing platter or that 5-star Thai curry, or when you go from a hot summer day into an ice cold office, your pores close up, and when your pores close, heat that should escape through your skin gets trapped inside. That heat goes straight to your lungs. Now, lung energy normally flows downward like a gentle steam engine, but when heat forces it upward, it all gets concentrated in your throat, a relatively narrow passage. It's like a clogged exhaust pipe. The local circulation gets blocked. And as we say, when there's blockage, there's pain. So your throat becomes red, swollen, painful, sometimes to the point where you can't swallow without wincing. Now, if you take antibiotics for that, from a Chinese medicine perspective, antibiotics are very cold in nature. It's like throwing a bucket of ice water onto a fire that actually needs to be vented. You might suppress the symptoms temporarily, but the heat doesn't disappear. It gets pushed deeper into your body, and that's how chronic pharyngitis develops. You become that person who, for years, feels like there's a lump in the throat, or your throat gets irritated every time you talk a little too much or the weather changes. It's frustrating, and it's so common among teachers, salespeople, and anyone who uses their voice all day. Now let's move to the skin, those breakouts that seem to have no mercy. I see patients in their 40s and 50s who are still dealing with acne, and they feel so embarrassed about it, but here's what I tell them. It's not just a skin issue, it's an internal signal. In Chinese medicine, we call acne lung, wind, or stomach heat pimples, and the biggest trigger, your diet. Let's be honest, many of us are eating a lot of high-fat, high-sugar, heavily processed foods. Think about a typical day, maybe a drive-through breakfast sandwich, a big lunch with fried chicken or a burger, and then dinner with a heavy pasta or a loaded pizza. And don't forget that giant sweet iced latte or soda in between. All that food hits your stomach and intestines if your digestion can't keep up. And for many of us, it can't. That food sits there, ferments, and generates heat and dampness. And if you're also constipated, which is super common, that damp heat has no way to exit through the bottom. So it travels upward towards your face. Your pores are supposed to sweat and release heat, but now they're clogged with this sticky, hot gunk. Pressure builds, and boom, you get those red, swollen, painful cysts, often with white or yellow heads. And if you pop them or if you slap on corticosteroid creams, you're just damaging your skin barrier, leading to scars and dark spots that take forever to fade. I've seen it hundreds of times. And then there's bad breath. This is the one that really affects people's social lives. Patients come in and say, "Doc, I brush my teeth 3 times a day. I use mouthwash. I chew gum all the time, but it only works for like 10 minutes. And I tell them, of course it does, because you're brushing the symptom, not the source. The real source is your gut. In Chinese medicine, we call it stomach fire blazing or food stagnation turning into heat. Now picture this, it's a hot summer day. Over 90 degrees, you take leftover fish, rice, and vegetables, throw them into a trash can with a tight lid, and leave it outside for 3 days. When you open that lid, what do you smell? That's fermentation, rot, and a stench that could clear a room. Same thing happens in your stomach when your digestion is sluggish, when you eat too much greasy, heavy food, or just too much food, period. It sits in your gut, adds stomach heat, and it basically starts cooking and decaying. That produces what we call turbid qi, a foul gas that can't go down because you're not having regular bowel movements and can't go up smoothly, so it forces its way out through your mouth. That's the real reason for chronic halitosis. If you don't clean out that internal garbage, no amount of mouthwash or breath mints will fix it permanently. So now you see the pattern: sore throat, acne, bad breath. They all come from the same underlying problem. Your internal energy flow is disrupted. The clear, healthy energy that should rise isn't rising properly, and the waste that should descend isn't descending. Heat and toxins accumulate in your upper body, your face, your throat, your skin, and your body is basically sending you an SOS. Our job isn't to silence the alarm, it's to open the exits, let the heat out, and restore balance. That brings us to our remedy, honeysuckle. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Doc, Isn't that just another herbal thing? How is it different from the antibiotics or the detox teas? Great question. And the answer comes down to how we think about medicine. In Chinese medicine, we don't just look at a plant's chemical ingredients like you'd see in a lab report. That's the conventional microscopic approach. Instead, we look at the plant's nature, where it grows, its color, its shape, its smell, what time of year it's harvested. All of that tells us how it will interact with your body. Honeysuckle, its botanical name is Lonicera japonica, is a fascinating plant. The flower buds start out pure white. After a day or two in the sun, they turn golden yellow. So on the same vine, you often see both white and yellow flowers at the same time. Ancient observers called it gold-silver flower because of that beautiful contrast. And in our system, color corresponds to body channels. White enters the lung channel. The white petals are light and fragrant, and because flowers generally have an upward dispersing quality, honeysuckle works quickly to clear heat from your lungs and your upper body. It's like a cool breeze that blows away that uncomfortable heat in your throat and respiratory system. Yellow, on the other hand, enters the stomach and spleen channels. The yellow petals have an earthy quality, going deep into your digestive core, where they help clear stomach fire that causes bad breath and those deep cystic breakouts. That's what we call pulling the fuel from under the pot. And here's the fascinating part. The botanical name honeysuckle comes from the plant's ability to endure winter. If you watch it in cold weather while everything else is brown and dormant, honeysuckle vines stay green, clinging to walls and trees. It's literally absorbing the purest, coldest energy of winter, and then in spring and summer, it flowers with that detoxifying, cooling power. That's why it's so specifically effective against heat-related conditions. In fact, a famous Qing-era physician created a classic formula called Yin Chao San, and honeysuckle is the main ingredient, the emperor herb in that formula. That tells you how highly it's regarded. Now, think about the difference between antibiotics and honeysuckle this way. Antibiotics are a scorched earth strategy. You take them and they kill off bacteria indiscriminately, the bad ones, yes, but also the good ones that you need for digestion, for immunity, for vitamin production. Your gut becomes a wasteland. Over time, your body becomes colder, weaker, and more vulnerable. Honeysuckle, on the other hand, works by cooling, resolving, and gently guiding toxins out. It's like opening a window on a stuffy day. The heat and stale air leave naturally, but the room stays intact. It directs toxins to the surface to be released as sweat or to your bladder to be flushed out as urine. It works with your body's natural mechanisms. That's the genius of this approach. Now, honeysuckle is great, but it's not perfect on its own. It has two small limitations, and I want to be upfront about them. First, it's cooling. If you drink it by itself for a long time, especially if you already have a sensitive stomach, you might experience diarrhea, gas, or stomach pain. And in our modern world, so many of us have digestive issues. We eat on the run, we eat processed foods, we take medications that affect our gut. So we have to be careful. Second, honeysuckle mainly works on the lungs and stomach, but one of the most common problems today is liver fire. That's the heat that comes from stress, lack of sleep, and too much screen time. Honeysuckle doesn't address that as directly, so we need a partner, and that partner is chrysanthemum. This is a classic combination, honeysuckle plus chrysanthemum, and it's been used for centuries. I've recommended it to countless patients, and many of them are surprised by how well it works. Let me explain why chrysanthemum is such a perfect match. Chrysanthemum is slightly cooling, sweet with a hint of bitterness, and it mainly works on the lungs and the liver. In ancient texts, they called it the longevity flower because it helps preserve health as you age. First, it calms the liver, and for those of us who stare at screens all day, computers, phones, tablets, we're using up our liver's blood supply. The liver opens into the eyes. When you overuse your eyes, you deplete liver blood and liver fire flares up. That leads to dry, red, gritty eyes, headaches, irritability. You know, that feeling when you're just done by 3 p.m., chrysanthemum cools that fire, and when your liver calms down, your mood stabilizes, your sleep improves, and you feel less tense overall. Second, it's great for skin. The liver is your body's main detox organ. When it's working well, your blood is clean, and clean blood means clean skin. Many women and men in their 40s and 50s develop melasma, dark spots, or adult acne. Often, that's due to liver qi stagnation, stuck energy that generates heat and blood stasis. Chrysanthemum combined with honeysuckle gives your circulation and blood a deep, gentle cleanse. It's like a spa day for your internal organs. Together, these two flowers are a dream team. Honeysuckle clears the lungs and stomach. Chrysanthemum clears the liver. One handles the heat from food and environment. The other handles the heat from stress and emotions. One clears chi level heat. The other reaches deeper into the blood. They complement each other beautifully. Now, let me bring this to life with some real cases. Because medicine is about people, not just theories. Case one, a young professional with severe acne and bad breath. She was a 28-year-old marketing coordinator. She came to me with her face covered in angry red cystic breakouts, some already infected. She had been on antibiotics and even a round of isotretinoin. But every time she stopped, the acne came back with a vengeance. She also had persistent bad breath and constipation. She was going maybe twice a week, and her stools were hard and dry. She was stressed. She worked late. She lived on takeout, lots of spicy food, and sugary boba teas. When I examined her tongue, it was red with a thick, yellow, greasy coating, classic sign of damp heat. Her pulse was slippery and rapid, so I didn't prescribe anything expensive or complicated. I told her to get high-quality honeysuckle and chrysanthemum, 10 grams each, and add 3 grams of licorice root to protect her stomach. She steeped them in boiling water for about 7 minutes and drank that every day. And I gave her strict lifestyle advice: cut out the boba, the iced drinks, the spicy food, at least for a few weeks, and try to get to bed by 11 p.m. Within 3 days, her bowel movements improved, and she said the bad breath was significantly better. In 2 weeks, the big pimples had flattened out and no new ones were forming. In a month, her skin was clear, her confidence was back, and she felt lighter overall. That's the pull the fuel from under the pot approach. Clear the gut and the skin follows. Case 2, a teacher with chronic throat issues. This was a 52-year-old high school teacher who had been dealing with chronic pharyngitis for over 10 years. His throat always felt dry, irritated, and like something was stuck in it every time he had a slight cold or had to talk more than usual. Especially during parent-teacher conferences, his throat would flare up sometimes so badly that he couldn't speak at all. Had taken multiple courses of antibiotics, but they only gave him temporary relief. And over time, his stomach became so sensitive that even a few bites of raw fruit would cause diarrhea. When I saw him, his tongue tip was red, but the coating was thin, almost absent, and his pulse was thin and rapid. That told me that years of overuse had depleted his lung moisture, what we call yin, and the antibiotics had damaged his digestive vitality. So he had a complex pattern: heat in the upper body, throat, but cold and weakness in the lower body, gut. I couldn't give him the full dose. Instead, I recommended 5 grams each of honeysuckle and chrysanthemum, just enough to clear the local throat heat, plus 10 grams of ophiopagon to nourish his throat lining, and 3 grams of tangerine peel to protect his stomach and clear any residual phlegm. In 3 days, the burning sensation was gone. In 2 weeks, his chronic symptoms improved dramatically. And because of the tangerine peel, his stomach was fine, no diarrhea. He now keeps this blend in his thermos every day and says it's been a lifesaver. Case 3, a menopausal woman with liver fire. This was a 53-year-old patient who was going through menopause. She was irritable, snapping at her husband and kids, feeling constantly stressed. Her eyes were red and dry. She had trouble falling asleep, and she'd wake up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, night sweats and hot flashes that really disrupted her life. Her face would flush red out of nowhere. Her tongue was thin and dark red with no coating, and her pulse was wiry, classic pattern of liver and kidney yin deficiency with rising liver yang. Menopause naturally depletes the body's nourishing fluids, and when you lose that moisture, the liver tends to flare up. So I recommended 10 grams of honeysuckle and 15 grams of chrysanthemum, more chrysanthemum for its liver calming effects, plus 10 grams of goji berries to replenish her body's moisture. That's the water the tree approach. Cool the fire while adding fluid. After 1 night, she said her eyes felt less painful. In a week, her hot flashes and night sweats were way less frequent. Her sleep improved, and her family noticed she was much calmer. That's what happens when you balance the system. Case 4, a cautionary tale, what not to do. This is a case that really worries me. A 65-year-old retiree, let's call him Mr. Chen, heard that cooling herbs were good for you. He had a bitter taste in his mouth and thought he needed to detox. So he started buying large amounts of honeysuckle, self-heal, bitter melon, and other strongly cooling herbs, brewing them up and drinking them all day long every day for 6 months. What happened? He developed severe diarrhea 5 or 6 times a day. He felt weak, his face turned pale, his legs swelled up, and he even started leaking urine. That's a serious condition. He had basically extinguished his body's digestive and kidney fire, the warm energy that keeps us going. Older adults already have slower metabolisms and weaker vitality, and pouring massive amounts of cold herbs into their system is like pouring water on a campfire that's already low. It took me nearly 3 months of using warming, nourishing herbs to help him recover, and even then, he still has residual weakness. Please learn from this. Herbs are medicines. Don't take fire extinguishing remedies when there's no fire to put out. Now, let's talk about how to prepare this correctly. Because you can't just toss flowers into a pot and boil them for half an hour. That would destroy the volatile oils, the qi that gives them their light, dispersing effect. Overcooked flower tea becomes bitter, heavy, and cold, and it goes straight to your stomach, causing problems rather than solving them. Here's my recommended method. Choose quality herbs. Buy honeysuckle and chrysanthemum from a reputable store. Avoid anything that looks unnaturally bright, bleached, or smells sour or chemical that may be sulfur treated, which can harm your liver. Good honeysuckle has a natural greenish yellow tint, closed buds, and a light, fresh aroma. For chrysanthemum, I prefer the small, unopened buds, often called taiju or chrysanthemum buds, because they're pure and less bitter. Use a basic ratio. For a general daily tea, use 10 grams each of honeysuckle and chrysanthemum. If your digestion is sensitive, add 3 grams of licorice root. It's like a peacekeeper that harmonizes the blend and protects your stomach lining. If you feel heavy, bloated, or have a lot of phlegm, especially in warm, humid weather, add a few slices of dried tangerine peel to help dry up dampness and clear phlegm. Brew correctly. Start by rinsing the herbs quickly with water to remove any dust. Place them in a ceramic or glass cup. Avoid stainless steel thermoses for long steeping because they can trap heat and affect the flavor. Pour boiling water over them, cover, and let steep for about 5 to 8 minutes. Do not boil them on the stove. The tea should be a clear, pale yellow with a pleasant floral aroma. That's when it's most effective. Drink it right. Let it cool to warm, not scalding, but not iced. Ice drinks can trap cold inside your body and actually make it harder to release heat. Sip it about 30 minutes after a meal, never on an empty stomach. Because cold herbs on an empty stomach can be harsh on your digestive fire, and always brew fresh each day. Don't store it overnight because the effects change and it may spoil. Now, I have to give you the most important warning. This tea is not for everyone. Please don't treat it like a daily vitamin. It's medicine, gentle medicine, but still medicine. So if you fall into any of these categories, put the cup down and talk to a practitioner first. If you have a cold, weak stomach, if you're always chilly, your hands and feet are cold, you can't tolerate air conditioning. Or you get bloating and diarrhea from even a small salad or a piece of fruit, your system is already cold and damp. Drinking this tea would be like throwing snow onto a frozen pond. You'll make things worse, possibly leading to chronic diarrhea or digestive issues. If you're in the early stage of a wind cold illness, this is when you get chilled. Maybe you were outside in the rain or you sat in a draft and now you feel deeply cold. You have a clear runny nose, you're sneezing, you have no sweat, and your whole body aches. You need warmth. A bowl of ginger soup or hot tea with honey and lemon to sweat out the cold. If you drink cooling tea instead, you can push the cold deeper, and that can turn into a stubborn, lingering cough that lasts for weeks. If you're menstruating, pregnant, or postpartum during your period, your blood flows downward and your uterus needs to stay warm, not cold. Cold drinks can cause cramping and poor flow. Pregnancy and postpartum are delicate times. Always check with your doctor before using any herbal remedies, including this one. If you have what we call yin-type sores, if your pimples are dark purple or flat, not red or painful, or if they ooze clear fluid and take forever to heal, that's a sign of deep deficiency, not heat. Cooling herbs would only make that worse. You need warming, strengthening herbs instead. And one more rule, when your symptoms improve, when your throat feels better, your skin clears, your breath is fresh, stop drinking the tea. In Chinese medicine, we say stop when the disease stops. Don't keep taking it for months on end. It's not a replacement for water. Overdosing on any remedy, even a natural one, can cause its own problems. So here's my closing thought for you. The ancient text says, with stomach qi, there is life without it. There is death. That sounds dramatic, but the meaning is simple. Protect your digestion and your whole body will thrive. Small, thoughtful changes like choosing the right tea at the right time can make a huge difference over the long haul. You have the power to improve your health, starting with small daily choices. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried this combo? Do you struggle with any of these symptoms? Drop a comment below. Let's get a conversation going. And if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe so you don't miss our next video where we'll talk about another common health challenge, maybe something to do with sleep, stress, or digestion, because I know you have questions and I want to answer them. Before you go, please remember this video is for educational purposes only. I'm here to help you understand the science and the traditional wisdom, not to replace professional medical advice. Every body is different, and what works for one person may not work for you. If you're dealing with any health concerns, please schedule a visit with your primary care doctor, someone who can look at your full history, run the right tests, and give you personalized guidance. Take care of yourselves, be kind to your bodies, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.